We live. Yeah, we're live. Okay. Yo, what up, YouTube? It's your boy Eddie. Today I'm going to be walking you guys through a Novation deal that I did. This was a couple months ago, back in November, I believe, is when we closed on it. I've been meaning to make this video for some time. I know that some of you guys are not comfortable with Novations yet, or you're not even familiar with them. So let's go ahead and get into it. Um, this was a property that I found by utilizing SMS, so um, outbound marketing. Seller had a tenant in here, and they were month to month. She was an older lady. The tenant, I think she was paying about $1,000 a month. This is in Independence, Missouri, so it's about 40 minutes east of Kansas City. Just gonna walk you guys through the deal a little bit. Kind of break it down and explain why novations are so powerful. So this was a smaller property, 2-1, 750 square feet. It was pretty clean. We didn't put any work into this or anything like that. So as you guys can see, like, property's pretty clean. I think there's some issues with the paint. It's obviously a little bit dated, but it's still really clean. Backyard's nice, like well kept. I think we might have taken care of the lawn, and then I paid for the photographer. I think it was like $150 for the photos. But anyways, those of you who don't know what a novation is, it's when you have a lead that wants more than what you're able to offer wholesale or cash in this case, but they still want less than what you think you could sell it on the market for. So this deal, I'll show you guys. We had it listed too high originally. Um, See, we had it listed at 145, and we dropped the price 20 grand. I was under contract with the seller for 85, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 85,000. Listed it here. This is when we started to generate more showings. And then we got an offer, I think it was at 120 after paying, excuse me, after paying out agent commissions, helping the seller or the buyer, excuse me, with closing costs. I think some other stuff we helped them with. We netted about $21,000 from this deal. So the biggest thing about novations is, there's a lot of moving parts, and you can avoid a lot of issues by being fully transparent with the seller. Sounds easier said than done, but when you don't know how to describe a novation to a seller or pitch it, when you don't even know what a novation is, you're going to have a pretty hard time, being successful at them. So biggest thing that I'll say for a novation, first part is analyzing the deal. So this property, right? If we wanted to offer the seller cash, I mean, we were gonna have to be priced somewhere in the 60,000 range. And he was just like, "Hey, my bottom dollar is 85. I'm not gonna go below there." So that's kind of where we were at. So I was like, "Huh, okay. Well, property's clean as far as he's telling me. There's a tenant in there, but she's month to month." So in my head, I'm already thinking maybe we can do a novation. My ARV or my on the market resale price is 120, 125, but he wants 85. There's some margin there. I think that, we might be able to make something happen. And we did. I pitched the seller, said, "Hey, listen, we utilize two different investment strategies. One is our cash. That's typically where we close in about 2 to 3 weeks. We're looking to add value to the property. Mr. Seller, it sounds like your property doesn't need much work. So I don't think that would be the best option for you. But I do have this other program. It's our equity enhancement program. The real difference between this one and cash is that this one we close up in about 45 to 60 days. And we bring in our retail partners. These are individuals who they may want the kitchen redone a certain way. They may want the paint a certain color. We go ahead and take care of those upgrades for them after closing on the property. And this is how we're able to juice out more equity and offer you more money. Is that something you'd be opposed to? And I kind of just soft pitch it. I don't want to get into the entire process yet because I don't even know if they're going to be open to it. And I don't want to confuse them or make them think, "Oh, no, this is a scam. This sounds weird." And if they're like, "Well, tell me more," or, "Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, what's the offer?" Then right then and there, you got to realize that, okay, you've piqued their interest. This may be a great innovation opportunity. Okay, tell me more. Yeah, of course. So what we'll do, we'll leverage the open market and we'll just market this out to our retail partners. So these are buyers who are pre-approved with financing and are going to want certain upgrades. You're not going to have to worry about any of that. We still take care of the entire process from A to Z. The only thing we need you to be, or the only thing we need is reasonable access to the property. Okay, well, what does reasonable access to the property look like? We'd always ask you, or the tenant in this case, if it's okay with you. We'll always ask for a 24-hour notice before anybody goes over there. We're not going to send any strangers to the property, anything like that. We'll always ask for permission. And these are just going to be our retail partners that are going to tell us what they'd like done to the property. Does that sound fair? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. And then you're educating them on the process, you're pitching it. And then once you have a number that makes sense. So again, we locked this up at 85. In my head, I was like, I think there's spread here. So let's go ahead and list it. Like I said, we started too high, but we ended up decreasing it to 125. By the time we paid out agent fees, which was 6%, we helped the buyer with some closing costs. I think it brought us down to like $106,000. Like that was our net. So 106 minus 85, that brings us to 21. And that's what we made on this deal. I can tell you guys how many days it took as well. So we listed it October 3rd and it sold on the 10th. So relatively quickly. Now, what this doesn't show is, the amount of time that we were building rapport with the seller. I think I had been talking with him for a month before this, before we even got anything in writing. So obviously, guys, when you're dealing with outbound leads and just leads in general, follow up is king. And that first initial call is very important. Building rapport, building trust, getting to know who they are and making sure they know who you are. But that's pretty much it. I know I didn't go too much into depth on what a novation is, problems that may come up, but if you guys like this video, if this provided you some value, let me know. If it didn't, or you'd like to see something different, also let me know. But I'll see you guys on the next one.